Hello and welcome to today's Webinar Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about exploring digital OPAC integrations with the Library.Solution. My name is Ria Stark. I'm the Digital Engagement Manager here at the Library Corporation, and today's discussion is going to be led by Phillip Green, who's one of our sales engineers on the team today. So one thing that I wanted to point out before we get started is that TLC does have two ILS products. So Library.Solution will be the example that we're going to be talking through today. If you are a Carl customer or have Carl questions, we can also address those as well. As we go throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, please drop those in the questions panel and we'll come back at the end and answer those. And we'll also have a couple of polls that happen throughout the session as well. So watch out for those on the screen. And before you leave today, there are some handouts to check out, so be sure to download those. All right, the other thing that I want to talk about for the session is that the OPAC is really the first place that your patrons end up when they're looking for your library. They start at the digital site, they check things out there, and so while you can't replace librarians, obviously, we do want to integrate a lot of the things that librarians do in a brick and mortar building with the things that happen online. So things like reader's advisory and being able to easily and quickly access materials. So Phil's going to show us some great options in the Library.Solution OPAC today, and I'll hand it over to him to lead that discussion.
Thanks, Ria. Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start off today. We're going to look at a couple different types of digital enhancement and integration available for your pack. So some things that we're going to see today, if you're a current TLC customer, you may be familiar with, or you may not be aware of some options that you have or some features and services that TLC may offer. And we certainly invite everyone to participate in the polls today and let us know if you would like additional information after the presentation. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to clear off our welcome screen. And let's go over to the pack. For customers that are using TLC products, you're familiar here with the Ls2 pack. For those that are not, this is the Ls2 pack. This is the TLC Library.Solution discovery layer. And with the OPAC, you can create landing pages and carousels to advertise your collections, whether they be physical collections or digital collections within your library. We're going to be talking mainly about those digital options today. The first thing I want to start off with is our fairly new feature or service, the Lexile and AR reading program information integration that's available to all TLC 5X customers at no additional charge. So if we're searching in the catalog, or you may be helping a patron, especially a younger patron, look for materials that are going to meet their criteria for reading, you may be looking upon Lexile and AR to provide you some of that guidance. So you can see we actually do have facets right here for Lexile and accelerated reader information, along with interest level. And if test scores are provided, the testing information will be in the record as well. Now, the reason this is such a big deal for TLC and TLC customers is, as I mentioned, this is now a service that's included, and we do not charge extra for this. So you will be getting reading program information inserted into your library catalog at no additional charge and with no additional work to your cataloging staff. So this is fantastic if you have a limited amount of catalogers on staff. You may have catalogers that are not professionally trained or not familiar with how to enter the information into the MARC record. We're going to improve the consistency and discoverability for your staff as well as your patrons when it comes to using the reading program information. So you're going to be able to get all this information presented to the user without having to worry about the cataloging data. So gone are the days of worrying which subfield of the 526 that you need to enter that program information into, worrying about capitalization, punctuation, etc. That is all handled automatically with a nightly process that's provided to you free of charge by TLC. So if you do not already have this service enabled, please reach out to us and let us know that you're using Lexile or Accelerated Reader. And the library even has the option to prioritize which is displayed first in the data. So we can display the Lexile or the AR information first, or if you use just one or the other, we can simply hide the other information which your library does not use. So that service, again, available as a nightly update. We automatically match the ISBN and the record to provide that reading program information via a data stream directly from TLC. Let's just click in and take a real quick look here. You can see we have the AR information. That is my prioritized information. That is the one that's being displayed here. Again, along with that quiz number information. And again, no need to worry about cataloging this in your marked data. And if I said 526 in subfields and you glazed over, this is exactly the service for your library. Next, we'd like to expound upon our new relationship with Proquest. We have the new enhanced Unbound content, which is going to provide a direct data stream directly back to that enhanced content metadata. And you're going to have a couple of major advantages now over the previous offering from Syndetics, which provided the book jackets and your table of contents and some related information. But Unbound is going to also provide additional information, again, with no interaction from the cataloging staff. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of my favorite records to display, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. All right, so we have found Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I'm going to go ahead and click into the title display. Something else I would like to mention with the new Unbound connection from Proquest, TLC customers that are on version 5.6, 5.6 or newer may have noticed also that this content is displaying in Ls2 Cataloging. So your cataloging staff can actually get a preview of all the enhanced content and all the additional metadata that will be visible in the pack to your patrons before the record is even published. Additionally, if you weren't here for our Ls2 cataloging webinar a few weeks ago, if you identify issues with the enhanced content via the cataloging interface, you're actually able to flag things for review or mark things as incorrect or missing. So your cataloging staff also now has a direct connection back to Proquest for flagging enhanced content which needs to be reviewed by the provider. So there's no longer that additional layer of support from TLC where we have to send your information and your request along to the provider. Your cataloging staff gets to do that directly with Proquest. So let's move along. You can see here with Unbound, we're going to have additional information. Obviously, we provide the summary here at the top of the screen, just like we've always done. But what we now have is professionally vetted editorial reviews. So these are reviews that have been professionally reviewed, so reviewed reviews. So you're going to get consistency and accuracy with this new editorial review feed, as well as still providing the borrower reviews from your patrons here on the same screen. If I move along to my related tab, this is fantastic for things like reader advisory. You can help patrons find similar titles, similar stories with related story elements such as appeal and genre. We get enhanced rating and review information from third-party sources such as Goodread, Novelist, AR, and Lexile. We get the suggested reading as well that you may also like. We'll provide similar titles as well as similar series and similar authors. You will also see also available as. So these are other items in the catalog that are related. They could be the same story, a very closely related story, a retelling of the story, or other formats of the story. Something else I really like is the new tag cloud. So I can actually click on, say, for instance, Willy Wonka, and I will get things that are related to Willy Wonka, such as the Golly Whopper Gobstopper Games book, or the Candy Maker. So that tag cloud is an additional feature that you have now as well. Now let's say you would like even more information about your record. Let's click on more info. So under more info, we're gonna again be presented with the summary. Now we have awards, and we can expand that to see even more awards. We have the look inside, so here are your chapter previews and your table of contents. Additionally, you'll get more information about the author, and more items or titles from this author. And if I want even more, I click more, and we get even more from the author. So we have that new enhanced content stream from Proquest via Unbound, and those customers that are on 5.6 or newer will be eligible to receive this Proquest data. I believe it is actually at the same charge, at the same price level as your previous Syndetics content subscription. So let's take a look at another way we can integrate digital resources. Patrons are quite likely still searching for information about COVID. Now, within your library, you probably don't have a lot of materials that actually cover the COVID pandemic. So what we can do for you here is index things such as magazine articles, news articles, even Britannica and World Book information. And if you haven't noticed previously, or if you're not a TLC customer, you can see we actually categorize these as magazine articles and news articles. So patrons aren't familiar with EBSCO and Newsbank and things like that, but they do understand the term, for instance, magazine articles or news articles. And we can even index digital resources and websites for you as well. As you can see, I'm getting RSS feeds in my search response. The RSS feeds can be very easily configured within the Ls2 PAC administration. That is something that library staff have access to with proper permission. You can index virtually any website or RSS feed within the catalog and even determine how often the results are kept. You can choose to purge results in as little as 7 days or retain them for longer periods of time. In this example, if I would like to refine this search and only see news feeds, I can click on my news feed tab. So this facet shows all the different news feeds that are currently available. Maybe I'm interested in seeing what's going on in the UK in relation to COVID. So we'll click on that BBC news facet. I can click in to get additional information, and then I can even be taken out to the site to consume that digital information via RSS. And there we are. Next, I'd like to talk about e-resource integration. I'm sure many of you here today have subscriptions to electronic resources, whether they be RB Digital or Tumble Books or Hoopla or OverDrive or Mackin or Baker and Taylor. The list goes on and on. What we can do for you is integrate all your electronic resources into your catalog so they're presented side by side in search results along with physical items. Give me just a moment. I'm going to log out of Sammy's account. He's a youth borrower, and I'm going to log in as an adult in just a moment. The advantage of using the electronic resource integration from TLC is twofold, and I'm going to come to that in just a moment. The first thing I'd like to do is differentiate between electronic resource authentication and e-resource integration. Many vendors will say they have integration with electronic resource providers. TLC has taken one step further and has decided to differentiate between authentication and integration. I'm going to show that now. So for instance, with what we refer to as indexed but non-integrated electronic resources, if a patron, for instance, is searching for, let's say, a wrinkle in time. All right. I can see that I have indexed and I've presented the patron with a search result for a wrinkle in time. It's an e-audiobook, and you can see it's downloadable. I'm presented with more options. Now, when I click that button, what it's going to do is take me directly to the record within my Hoopla environment, where I am then able to additionally review the record, and I can choose to borrow. Now I'm asked to log in with my library credentials to download the electronic resource. This will then be authenticated via SIP or Easy Proxy, depending on your library's IT configuration, and your patron will then be able to download the resource. So we will authenticate the patron so they can have access to this resource. Some vendors call this integration. Again, we like to differentiate between the two, and I'm going to show you what that means. Let's say, for instance, we're now looking at a fully integrated electronic resource. And the other thing I want to bring up for you here too is you're probably getting a brief MARC record with your electronic resources, just enough so that it's serviceable and can be placed into the catalog. I would like to remind everyone that eBibliophile is a service from TLC, and it is ILS agnostic. You can use it with any ILS vendor, but eBibliophile will provide you a full MARC record for your electronic resources and eBooks, powered by the strength of the TLC its MARC service. Additionally, those records are now being delivered with RDA enhancement. So we're taking the traditional AACR2 MARC data and using a special process at TLC, we're adding an additional up to 20 fields of RDA information that improves discoverability and adds additional refinement facets here in the pack. So again, eBibliophile will look for a complete MARC record for you, and it takes some of that headache out of cataloging your eResources. So you're going to get a better record, a more searchable record, as well as RDA data in that eResource record when you're using the eBibliophile service. So now that I've located A Tale of Two Cities, I'm going to jump in and take a look at the record here. And you saw I had 15 copies available. This time I have a download button. We have full API integration with Baker and Taylor A360, OverDrive, as well as MackinVIA for our libraries that may be working with their schools, or if we have any school libraries here today, welcome. We also have API integration with MackinVIA. So the patron is now presented with a new option. They can choose download, not more options. You know, we're not going to take them to another website. I can choose download. I'm going to log in to the pack, and I now get the option to download. Let's say I'd like to have the OverDrive audiobook. I click OK. Right now, the API is sending all my authentication information to the vendor, verifying the patron is in good standing, is eligible to check out the material. I can either download it now or download it later. And the reason we present the patron with these two options is if they're at home on the computer or tablet device they wish to read it on, that's great news. They can go ahead and click download now. But maybe they're in the library or they're at their desktop computer and they plan to listen to, consume, or read the electronic resource on a tablet or mobile device. They can choose download later. Now let's go over to Philip's account and look at my activity. Another advantage of the e-integration for borrowers, the API service will also insert the circulation and checkout information into their online account. So you can see I currently have a couple physical books checked out from the library and their status. Looks like I'm a little overdue here. You can see also their electronic resources checked out. Another advantage to the API integration, the e-integration for borrowers, is the ability for patrons to see their electronic resources that are checked out side by side with their physical materials and when they are due back or when they're due to expire. You can see I have a couple items expiring today, and I have 1 day left on A Tale of Two Cities, which I just checked out. Additionally, depending on the e-resource provider, patrons may also have the ability to return items early, depending on the provider and what their rules are. Furthermore, the e-integration for borrowers, because of the API integration, if you are an OverDrive Advantage member, you will also then see Advantage copies once the patron logs in. So if the patron comes to the library catalog and sees that there aren't any items available, as a best practice, it's good to remind your patrons to always log in to check to see if additional copies are available if you are part of an Advantage library group or consortium. We can also work at the consortium level too. So if you have individual e-resources available to you at your local library, but you're also part of a consortium or an Advantage library group, your patrons will see those additional copies available to them once they're logged in. Now let's say I have come to my tablet device and I'm ready, again, A Tale of Two Cities. I did not download at the time of checkout. I can choose to download again. And now I get to choose my format. I click OK to continue and begin my download. And you can see I'm now downloading my electronic resource, and here's a Tale of Two Cities. I'm ready to listen along. So the integration for borrowers gives the patron the ability to stay within the familiarity of the library catalog. They can download now or download later. They can see when their electronic resources are due to expire, and even renew or return items depending on the vendor API. Patrons also have the ability to place holds on the electronic resources. So if there are no digital copies currently available, patrons can even manage their holds for eResources with that e-integration for borrowers service and feature. At this point, we're going to pause for a moment. I believe Rhea and Justin have a few poll questions to display.
Thanks, Philip. I'll go ahead and read this off. So for those of you who are currently library.solution customers, the question is, do you have a subscription to e-integration for borrowers? So yes, no, but you're interested to learn more, or if this doesn't apply to you, NA. And if you're not a library.solution customer, hold tight. Our second question is for you. While we're waiting for those answers, I think that it's such a big distinction, Philip, like you mentioned, to have the difference between authenticating and seamless integration right in the pack. I think it's so much nicer to just be able to have access to your content right away, right when you're ready to read it, rather than coming in through maybe some of those third parties to get access to it.
Yep, huge advantages. Patrons absolutely love this. I personally, unfortunately, my community does not have TLC as their library automation system, and it is certainly an inconvenience to me to have to go to another website and enter my barcode and PIN every time. I, in fact, am so lazy, I use my barcode scanner for demonstrations to scan the key tag for my library card so I don't have to type in that 16-digit barcode.
That's a nice tip there too. Good hack. All right, for those of you who are not TLC or library.solution customers, how does your current vendor support your ebook integration? And this is a check all that apply. So do they just do that patron authentication where they log in separately? Do they have access to seamless integration that's incorporated into the pack like what Philip just showed you all? Is there no ebook integration? Or maybe this doesn't even apply to you, so NA. So we'll give you all a couple minutes to fill that out. And as a reminder, there are also handouts you can download. Philip mentioned that eBiblio file. There is a handout that talks more about that you can take a look at a little bit later. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the questions panel. All right, thanks, Philip. I'll hand it back over to you.
Sure. So let's switch over to one more piece of digital wizardry that we have here with the catalog. If you're not aware, Ls2 Pack has Google Analytics integration already configured. I shouldn't say configured, but already enabled. So you can go out and create a free Google Analytics account and enter that information into the Ls2 Pack administration console. And if you need help, please reach out to TLC support. We're happy to help. It's not difficult. You just need to know where to look for the information. So we're happy to help there. And this will allow you to see the behavior of your patrons. You won't be able to see what they're searching for privacy purposes, clearly, but you'll be able to see what pages on the pack they go to frequently, how long they're there, do they click on the My Account button often, do they click on the links that you have across the top of the website very often, and you'll be able to gather that information with the behavior feature within Google Analytics. Now, my demo database only sees a couple visits a day, so I'm looking at one of the TLC websites, Cataloger's Reference Shelf. If you're not aware of that, if you're a TLC customer, you have access to Cataloger's Reference Shelf, which is, as I've been told by many people, not just at TLC, but throughout the library industry, it is the most comprehensive cataloging resource on the net. So that's the Cataloger's Reference Shelf. All TLC customers have free access to that. But here you'll see the analytics for that website. You'll be able to see what pages your patrons are visiting, how many views have occurred in the time frame which you've outlined, what percentage of the page views that are occurring are that particular page, and then some unique statistics about the pages and the sites within the page they visit. So Google Analytics is a great way to determine how your patrons are using your pack. And again, if you need help setting that up, please contact TLC support. We are glad to help. The last thing I'll mention is if you are a TLC customer and you don't currently have the e-integration for borrowers, definitely reach out and check on that. It's just a couple $100s a year, depending on the size of your library. It's extremely affordable, and it is really a feature that patrons absolutely love having. We've received nothing but positive feedback from the customers that use this. A majority of TLC customers do use this service, so we definitely encourage you to reach out and chat with your inside salesperson if you're interested in more information. All right, I believe that is everything I had. So we will get ready to wrap up here.
Thanks, Philip. We do have one more poll that we'd like to share with everybody. So this last poll is about if you would like to learn more about TLC's digital integrations. So yes, please contact me, or no, thank you, not at this time. And I do want to say also, if you are a TLC customer, we are offering TLCU, our user conference, in the fall. It's October. And there are going to be some great sessions that go over some of the stuff that Philip talked about today. So there will be a session that talks about Google Analytics. We're going to have a training session on Ls2 pack. So some really great content. So be sure to check that out at LS Community or Carl Community to get more information. So while people are answering this poll, there are a couple questions coming in. And if you do have a question, just please drop that in the questions panel. But Philip, the first question has to do with when you were in the pack looking at all of those other great content that was available. So the other titles, the other authors, things like that. And it says, are those more titles only those that are available within the local pack?
So yes, that's looking for items that are in your catalog. That's correct.
Great, thanks. And then the next question that's come in so far is, if a customer borrows from your library using an OverDrive app like Libby or Sora, will this borrowing information show in the pack too?
Yes, that's all synchronized.
Perfect. All right, we'll give it a moment for a couple more questions to come in. If you could jump to that last slide for us on the PowerPoint.
Oh, yep, sorry about that.
Yep, no worries. Just want to give everyone the website, tlcdelivers.com/webinars. We try to put out about 2 webinars a month, so be sure to check out there for the next one. And that's also where the recording goes. So all of our webinars are recorded and available usually the next day on that website. All right, we did get a third question that's come in. They don't see a magazine or references on their pack. So what do they need to do to enable that feature?
Sure. So in the Ls2 pack administration, there is, if you want to check the help file, that's the easiest way to locate it. Off the top of my head, I forget where the setting is, but there is information under the Ls2 pack tab for, I think it says third party or resource integration. There's a tab for that where you can put in your Newsbank, your EBSCO, your Britannica, your World Book, your Lexile, or your AR account information, and that will synchronize that data to your catalog. If it does not work, please reach out to support. Sometimes there's a flag we need to flip if it wasn't already set up previously.
Perfect. We do have another question. Someone is interested in the other digital resources that we offer. So they use Cloud Library and Hoopla and are interested about how we integrate with those resources.
Yeah, so the example with A Wrinkle in Time would be the authentication feature where, and that was a Hoopla title where we're taking the patron over to the native third-party website where they would enter their information there. And I believe, is Hoopla the one that was just purchased by OverDrive? Rhea, do you recall?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but there was one that was just recently purchased.
Yeah, so just as a broad stroke, for anyone listening,
Cloud Library.
What's that?
Maybe it was Cloud Library, actually, now that I think about it.
Okay, I know that OverDrive just purchased another e-resource vendor. And we are being told that once that acquisition is finalized and those resources are rolled into the OverDrive ecosystem, they will be authenticated like our current OverDrive integration. So you will see those resources integrated neatly within the Ls2 pack without going out to the third-party website. But at this time, if you are using a vendor that is not OverDrive, B&T, or MackinVIA, the patron will be taken over to the separate website, like my example of A Wrinkle in Time, but we will still authenticate them once they type in their barcode. The SIP transaction will authenticate them with the library.solution database, and they will be able to download the resource. They simply would not see it in their list of checked out items, and again, they go to that separate website. So that is our authentication, and that's again why we try to be very specific and differentiate between the two features. But we do support the authentication of virtually every other electronic resource vendor on the market.
Great. And one of the reasons that I love working with librarians so much is when you pose the question, you get the answers. So in our chat, we've got several people telling us about Canopy, which has purchased OverDrive, and then also RB Digital, I believe is
RB, that's it. Yes, that's the one. There we go.
Yep. So thank you everyone for jumping in there. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in so far. If you think of them, be sure to reach out. You can always get to us at info@tlcdelivers.com or reach out to us via support through our usual channels. Like I said, the recording will be available tomorrow at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out in that way. Phillip, thank you so much for giving this demonstration today. I think that it's really great to be able to see those digital integrations that we've got going, and you did a great job. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Rhea. And I thank everyone for attending as well. Thank you very much. We look forward to talking with you again soon.
All right, thanks everybody. Be sure to grab those handouts, and we'll see you next time.